Welcome to part 3 of how the chakras influence the human psyche. Today we're talking about the second chakra, and let's first look at what it looks like blocked. It looks like codependency, which is an addiction. It's an aversion to love of some kind. Codependency is not needing somebody else, it's needing somebody else to need you. It's also a fear of abandonment or any type of numbing addictions. This includes binging TV, social media, doom scrolling, binging food, or numbing addictions, anything to numb out like alcohol, opiates, drugs. This could look like you can't stay single for long, you have a love or a sex or masturbation addiction. It could look like somebody who likes people with a lot of problems, the typical bad boy or bad girl. This is because if you find somebody with more problems than you, you're able to fixate on their problems and not really worry about your own problems. All of these symptoms are rooted in shame and scarcity, and it boils down to a boundary issue. It could be broken down even further into the belief that who you believe you are at your core naturally is bad, unlovable, or broken. Anybody with a blocked second chakra could relate to the saying that there's a really bad part of me that ruins everything I touch. In our last video, we talked about the Muladhara, the first chakra, and you could think of that as deep roots getting put down as to who you are, being solid in yourself and getting your needs met. But when your needs are already met, now you want to go after your wants. The second chakra theme is about pleasure, going after what you want. You could think of the second chakra as a bowl of water sitting on top of these roots, right? And scarcity and shame makes up this bowl of water. With scarcity, you have a lot of cracks in this bowl. No amount of water, no amount of getting whatever you want you can keep, because as you get it, it spills through the cracks and falls apart and makes a mess. Scarcity has 3 states. It has not enough, enough, and more than enough. In a balanced second chakra, you will always go after comfortably more than enough. Scarcity is a learned concept that something is running out, like time is running out, the money is running out, the food is running out, God is running out. This is not true. None of it is actually running out. Scarcity increases perceived value. If you think something is becoming less and less, your perceived value of it increases. You think that it's worth more. In commerce, I think this is the only time this really holds true. Outside of it, it's all just perceived value. Well, let's say that you fix your scarcity issue, which really is a boundary of saying no to the old to allow space to say yes to the new. If you don't say no to the old when you do get something and you say yes to it, you make a big mess of it because you can't hold on to it. So we fixed our bowl and we have water in our bowl now. We get what we want. But here's the problem. Shame pollutes this water. If you shit in a cup of water, that water becomes shit. If you put juice in a cup of water, that water becomes juice. Water absorbs its surroundings. My grandmother would always say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I think this fits very well here. Here's an example of how we inherit shame. One day you were experiencing pleasure. You were in your pleasure. And to experience pleasure, it means that you can't be concentrating on the consequences of an action at the time. You can't think of what could go wrong in the moment because you can't experience pleasure on those terms. Whilst experiencing this pleasure, this having fun, something happens and we internalize it and blame ourselves as who we are naturally is bad. We don't blame the external circumstances. We don't blame anything else that happened. We just internalize it. In a blocked second chakra, when this happens, you also blame yourself for how everybody else's feel. It's this belief that who we are naturally is bad creates the patterns that then becomes triggers, and it becomes an Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail over and over and over again. Shame and scarcity keeps you from getting and keeping what you want, following your pleasure. That bowl, after you've fixed scarcity and you're able to hold on to the water, it's your responsibility now to keep that water clean and pure. And boundaries help you get here. Healthy boundaries looks like standing behind a screen door and allowing fresh breeze to pass through. And no amount of bugs could pass through that net. Only what you allow to pass through that net passes through that net. But when going after your wants, that belief that who you are naturally is bad, it makes you think that no matter what you do, you can't get your wants very easily. It must come with agonizing pain, blood, sweat, and tears. Here's a good example of how this Ouroboros of shame works. So you get home and you feel like shit. You don't feel good at all. You feel very terrible down to your core. So you don't have any alcohol, you don't have any drugs to kind of numb yourself out. So you decide to go masturbate. And instead of going through the process of enjoying the experience and having self-love, you assault yourself until you're numb and you have a very weak orgasm. You come out of this experience feeling more ashamed of what had happened. And to cope with this feeling of shame, you stand in front of your fridge and you begin eating one item after the other with the mental narrative of how you're fat and you're not going to lose any weight because you're not good enough. You come out of this blackout experience and you feel even more shame from it. And you pass in front of the mirror thinking to yourself how you're ugly and you're not enough. And you see a pimple on your face and the blackout happens again. And you start popping and this continues. Here's the truth of shame. Shame makes you feel ashamed to talk about it, and because you don't talk about it, it just gets worse. But when you do talk about it, you realize there was never anything to be ashamed of in the first place. My perspective of it is that life is like a game. We are observers sitting within the driver's seat of our body and surrendering, experiencing life as a creative process. Now, when Sadhguru said to read the user's manual for this vehicle that you drive in his inner engineering course, I think he was talking about this same topic, the chakras and how they align us with our mental narrative. When we're able to understand exactly how an imbalanced chakra, the way we feel emotion, we are able to alchemize, we're able to change how we perceive it, shift the perspective that we take of it, and in doing so, it shifts the narrative that we repeat in our minds. For anybody who wants to work through this kind of stuff and do the shadow work, you could book a direct session with me where we'll do a meditation to break free of the old perspective and look into it as a new perspective and shift that mental narrative. I love you. Have a good day.